Today marks the start of Black History Month.
And all month long, we will celebrate the unique people making a difference in the Bay Area's Black community.
Now let's head over to Vern Glenn, who sat down with a Bay Area attorney who's been at the forefront of some of the nation's biggest civil rights cases over the last half century. Vern?
Once a year, I get to step out of sports, and this is a really, really good one. All right, so who got civil rights for Rodney King? Who represented Oscar Grant's family after he was killed at the Fruitvale BART station? Who has come up with 8-figure settlements as a result of police misconduct and brutality? He's the author of this book, Blue versus Black, John Burris. The blue? Those in law enforcement who have stepped way over the line. Burris, on the Mount Rushmore of civil rights attorneys, is the defender of the black, victims of color who can't help themselves. So who is this son of the Bay Area? Let's take you to Oakland.
Step inside John Burris's Oakland office, and displayed are a museum of cases all over his walls. Burris has thousands of cases and a resume of over 40 years. And when each one is done, no pat on the back, no breaks. It is always on to the next case.
I did not want a job. I didn't want anybody telling me what to do.
Right.
I didn't want anybody handling me.
You wanted to be the boss.
I wanted to be the boss.
Right.
Or as they said in some circles, the man.
How did he get to be the man? It started here in Vallejo, his hometown, through his old neighborhood, 1256 Louisiana Street.
6 kids lived in that house.
6 kids in that house. 1626 Ohio Street, a neighborhood shaken by the news of the 1955 lynching of 14-year-old Emmett Till in Mississippi.
That was an eye-opener to me. A scary moment, of course, thinking that something like that could happen to me.
Another reason he someday wanted to be the boss: labor in the hot sun in nearby Fairfield.
You wouldn't know it because it's off season, but at harvest time, in June, July, and August, for over a decade, starting at age 6, this is where you found John Burris, picking walnuts, picking fruit.
You take a row, and you go all down that row. Then you have to stack your boxes along the way, and you have to mark your boxes. So I did that for a while. I stopped working in the fields when I got old enough to say I'm not going.
Vallejo High School, class of 1963. Goodbye, Vallejo. Hello, civil unrest of the 1960s and 70s at Cal.
Every day there were protests of some kind, marches. When I first got here, the National Guard was up there, parked on the street right off of Telegraph. I have one vivid memory of running through this way from the tear gas that was pursuing us.
He went to Berkeley Business School to become an accountant, but the heavy influence of then law professors, soon to be mentors, Henry Ramsey and Clinton White, compelled him to come to Berkeley Law School to succeed and lead.
I looked up to these guys and I saw what they had done, and I wanted to do more. And so I really thought that I had an opportunity to move the social agenda, to instill in the other students that were there what our responsibilities were to the future students. This is a room where we used to have our meetings, calling on people who would be sitting, there'd be couches and chairs around here. And, we would have spirited discussions here.
That was the foundation of the John Burris we know today. Just what Henry Ramsey and Clinton White visioned. His wife, Cheryl, has been a great teammate.
I always attended his trial, watched the juries, watched the other attorneys, watched the judge, and just kept a look at the framework of what's going on and gave him feedback at the end of each day, and we would talk about it.
Good morning, everyone.
Burris continues to fight the good fight, mentoring lawyers along the way. Adante Pointer was with him for 15 years. Ben Nissenbaum, right next door, since 2001.
You have to have dogged determinism, which is who he is, and that's what he embodies in terms of just being committed to getting the results despite the odds.
The poor get beaten down in our country. They get trod upon, tread upon, and that includes by police. And John has always stood up for people where that's happened.
No secret, part of my issue is I'm representing people against the establishment, if you will, namely corporations and or the police. And so these people are all at a disadvantage, and I'm sort of their champion. These are a collage of pictures from the case. Here's Rodney King talking to the jury, trying to show how his life was in danger. He thought he was going to die.
Was Rodney King your ticket to the major leagues, so to speak?
Well, I would say that
Just the optics were just,
Rodney King,
just terrible. In March of 1991, Rodney King was struck more than 50 times by 4 Los Angeles police officers for the world to see. King suffered 11 broken bones, and Burris was on the case.
I went down to a hearing, and it was a small hearing, just kind of getting a continuance or something like that. There were so many media people there. I said to myself, this is different.
I just want to say, you know, can we all get along?
Rodney King spoke. 4 Los Angeles police officers were acquitted of assault. L.A. rioted. L.A. burned. But Burris won. Rodney King's civil rights were violated.
In terms of the trajectory of my career, if you look at it from Rodney King to George Floyd, you will see the changes that have taken place in the litigation that I'm involved in. Because when I started, before Rodney King, there was not much willingness on the part of the generalized white community to believe the police engaged in this type of brutality. African American community knew it, I knew it, I had dealt with it on an ongoing basis, and so it was difficult, even with the cameras, for people to accept it.
That includes the killing of 22-year-old Oscar Grant in Oakland by BART police New Year's Day of 2009. Burris represented the family and reached a settlement. Partner Ayanna Curry has been watching Burris at peak performance since high school.
His mind is a steel trap. He has excellent recall on cases, on faces, people he's met, on the law.
A good lawyer is one who is prepared with their case and get the most out of the case than the facts presented. Bad lawyer doesn't necessarily do that. They're not prepared, and they take advantage of the situation.
In the early 2000s, a group of cops known as the Riders were terrorizing the black community in Oakland. They were acquitted of criminal charges, but Burris's lawsuit in that case paved the way for federal oversight of the police department that exists to this day.
Let's say it's some guy, he sees, John Burris in his element, top of his game, and he kind of walks away, whether it's from a courtroom or whatever, he bumps into you and says, man, who is that guy? What do you say?
I'd say that's John Burris.
Impossible to tell the story of John Burris in just a few minutes. I shot so much content, could have been an hour. Now, his drive to be these people's champion continues. Burris is responsible for over 100 reforms in the Oakland Police Department alone. And that includes the Oakland Riders case. That's the lawsuit brought on by victims of a group of Oakland police officers accused of beating and framing people in front of a rookie cop who blew the whistle. The city settled for a record $10.5 million for Burris's 119 plaintiffs.
And he's still busy right now. He's working on reform for the Antioch Police Department.
He never stops. He never stops. His partners say it's hard to even keep up with him.
It's so neat because we've interviewed him so many times. It's wonderful to see the backstory of how he got to where
I shot 4 days with him. And he's so... usually you see him at sound bites, press conferences, to spend that much time with that man with so many stories. I mean, I will remember those 4 days in January forever.
What a time. I especially loved it when he was wearing his Berkeley hoodie.
You look good in that hoodie.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Vern.